No contact isn't for the weak. It's for men who control themselves. Psychology tips. Discipline is remembering what you want. David Campbell. Most men don't crumble after a breakup because she left. They crumble because they can't keep their mouths shut when silence is their greatest weapon. Here's the raw truth. The no contact rule isn't some magic trick to make her crawl back. It's a crucible, a test of whether you can control yourself when your emotions are screaming at you to break. And guess what? 9 out of 10 men fail. They cave, they send that text, they chase, they beg, and with every word, they strip away the last bit of respect she might have had for them. Here's the part most men never understand. If you think no contact is about her, you've already lost the war. It's about you. It's about whether you can stand tall without validation, whether you can walk away with dignity instead of desperation. The Stoics taught that strength isn't in conquering others, but in conquering yourself. No contact is where that lesson comes alive. It's the battlefield where men either rise above chaos or sink into it. And let me be brutally clear. If you break no contact just because you felt like it, you've already surrendered control. She owns you. So when is breaking silence the right move? Only when it aligns with your values and principles, not your impulses, not your fear, not your wishful thinking. Anything else is weakness dressed up as hope. In this video, I'm going to lay out 7 Stoic principles that will show you exactly when no contact should end, and when breaking it is nothing but self-destruction. 1. No contact is not about her. No contact is not about her, and don't ever confuse it with some clever trick to pull her strings like a puppet master waiting for applause. That's the rookie mistake most men make. They think if they vanish long enough, she'll suddenly wake up, realize she lost the best thing she ever had, and sprint back into their arms. Wrong. That's weakness disguised as strategy. That's the illusion of control. And let me give you one of the most powerful psychology tips you'll ever hear. If your whole plan is to make her miss you, you've already lost because you just surrendered all your power into her hands. Don't orbit around her choices. Be the man who creates his own. Think about it. When a woman leaves, she's made a decision. And every time you chase, beg, or even check in, you reinforce that decision. You tell her, "You were right. I can't function without you." Don't. That's the path of weakness. The path of strength is no contact, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of self-respect. Be the man who says, "I can walk forward with or without you." That silence isn't a game. It's not manipulation. It's a declaration of independence. And let me tell you, gentlemen, independence is magnetic. People respect the man who respects himself. That is strength. That is control. Stoicism, one of the greatest philosophies for men, teaches a lesson most ignore. Control what you can. Accept what you cannot. You cannot control whether she values you, whether she misses you, whether she suddenly sees your worth. That's not in your hands, but you must control what you do next. And your choice to walk away is the test. Are you ruled by neediness, or are you ruled by principle? That's the defining line between men who crumble and men who rise. Here's another psychology tip. Your brain craves closure, and silence forces it. It's painful at first, like ripping off a bandage, but the faster you detach, the quicker you rebuild. Don't drag it out with weak texts and what-ifs. Now let's be real. If she comes back, good. But if she doesn't, even better. You've just saved yourself years of wasted time on someone who didn't value you from the start. That's a win either way. That's the beauty of no contact you cannot lose. You either rebuild on your terms or you set yourself free. And here's some love advice that stings but saves. Never let your self-worth hang on someone who already chose to leave you. Don't gamble your future on their indecision. Be decisive for yourself. Picture this story because it happens every day. A man gets dumped. Most men panic. They start firing off texts, flooding her phone with "I miss you" messages, begging for one more chance. And what happens? She blocks him, loses respect, and moves on faster. That's the weak man's path. But then there's the other type of man, the rare one. She leaves him, and instead of chasing, he goes silent. No calls, no late-night begging, no drunken texts. He focuses on his mission, his body, his career, his brothers. Months pass. Out of nowhere, she texts, "Why didn't you ever reach out?" His response? Nothing. Because his silence was never about making her miss him. It was about proving to himself that he could live, breathe, and thrive without her attention. That is power. That is what separates men from boys. And here's a dating tip that too many men overlook. Attraction doesn't grow from desperation, it grows from independence. Chasing kills respect. Silence grows it. But don't get this twisted. Your silence is not a trap for her. It's not a fishing line with bait dangling at the end. It's discipline. Discipline to cut off the drug of her validation. Discipline to train your brain to stand without crutches. That's why no contact is not weakness. It's the ultimate form of strength. Be the man who can smile at his reflection without needing her to tell him he's worth it. That's the psychology tip most men need hammered into their heads. And if you want more love advice that doubles as life advice, here it is. Stop waiting for someone to rescue you from loneliness. Rescue yourself. Build your strength, your habits, your mission. Women are drawn to men who walk with purpose, not men who beg for attention. That is the difference between attraction and pity. Don't ever confuse the two. Don't beg for respect. Command it by being willing to walk away. Gentlemen, the silence of no contact is not empty, it's full. Full of lessons, full of growth, full of the man you're becoming. Don't fill that silence with weakness. Fill it with building your mind, your body, your future. Remember this. If she values you, she'll return. If she doesn't, you just prove to yourself you didn't need her anyway. Either way, you win. That's not weakness. That's victory. 2. Silence is power, not weakness. Here's the truth most men don't want to face. When you stay silent, you're not showing weakness. You're showing supreme control. Weak men crumble in silence. They can't take the tension. They feel a burning itch to text, call, or explain themselves. They justify. They beg. They try to prove their worth. Strong men, they know better. They understand that silence is louder than 1,000 words. That's not passivity. That's power. Why weak men fear silence? A weak man thinks love psychology means flooding her with messages, checking in constantly, or explaining his every move. But that only screams one thing: desperation. Don't be that guy. Don't hand over your dignity for scraps of attention, because once you do, you've told her the ugly truth, that she still controls your emotions. And nothing kills attraction faster than that. That is not how you attract women. That is not how you achieve real relationship goals. The test you don't see coming. Here's the hard pill. Women are wired to test men. It's in their psychology. It's not cruel, it's instinct. When you go silent, you're no longer the easy option. You stop chasing. You stop feeding her ego. And suddenly, she has to confront the one thing she cannot control: your response. That silence shakes her world. Remember this. If you rush to break the silence, you fail the test. You prove you're still chained to her approval, and you will regret it every single time. Silence is magnetic. Don't underestimate it. Silence is not emptiness, it's gravity. It pulls attention without asking for it. Your silence says, "I don't need your validation. I won't beg for your attention. I value myself first." That's powerful. That's irresistible. That's how you attract women without trying. In a noisy world full of men scrambling for a woman's time, your silence separates you from the crowd. It's not arrogance, It's self-respect in action. The Stoic discipline. From a Stoic perspective, silence is the ultimate discipline. It's proof that you are not ruled by impulse, but by reason. Be the man who doesn't react to every trigger. Be the man who controls his words because he controls his emotions. That is strength. That is mastery. And here's the twist. Silence doesn't just keep her guessing. It gives you back your peace. You stop living for her reaction and start living for your own clarity. The social media trap. Picture this. A man's ex keeps posting selfies, cryptic quotes, or songs obviously aimed at him. It's bait. Pure bait. Most men, they can't help themselves. They comment, they react, they reach out. And in that instant, they hand her the win. But the man who stays silent, he watches. He doesn't bite. Days turn to weeks. And then the message arrives. So, you don't care anymore? That single line is proof. His silence was deafening. His silence did the work words never could. Men, hear this. Silence is not weakness. It is strategy. It is strength. It is self-respect on display. Don't explain. Don't chase. Don't break your own peace just to prove a point. Be disciplined. Be silent. Be the man who understands that silence is not empty. It's full of meaning. Because in love psychology, silence is not the absence of power. It is the power. 3. If she left, let her stay gone. That is not cruelty, that is clarity. That is not weakness, that is strength. A modern Stoic knows this truth just as an old Stoic once lived it, because Stoicism is not about holding on to what abandons you, it is about holding on to yourself when the world tests you. The moment she walked away, she revealed her choice, her values, her priorities. Believe people when they show you who they are. Don't rewrite their actions with excuses. Don't try to invent loyalty where there was only convenience. Don't mistake your longing for her for proof of her worth. The harsh truth is simple. If she truly valued you, she wouldn't have walked away. Let that truth burn, because fire purifies. And here's what you must never forget. Chasing her does not prove your love. It proves your lack of self-control. It proves her decision was right. Think about the nights you've wasted replaying every word, every glance, every fight. Think about the hours you've burned, wondering if you could have done something different. That is normal, but what you do next is what defines you. Do you chase? Do you beg? Do you crawl back? Or do you rise? Don't betray yourself by offering loyalty where you were abandoned. Don't say with your actions, even though you don't want me, I will still fight for you. That is not strength. That is desperation. That is surrender, dressed up as love. A man has only two choices when a woman leaves: cling to false hope or embrace reality. One keeps you chained, one sets you free. Choose freedom, choose strength, choose dignity. Acceptance is not weakness, it is the foundation of real power. When you accept the pain, you cut away the poison. When you face the truth, you stop bleeding energy into a lost cause. And in that moment, you gain back your life. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Her choice was never yours to control. But your reaction, your discipline, that is yours alone. In modern life, men are tested constantly. Temptations, distractions, endless noise from social media, and society telling you that love is everything, that you must fight for someone who already rejected you. Don't listen. Be a modern Stoic. Remember, the old Stoic lived in Rome surrounded by power and temptation, and yet he chose discipline over desire. You must do the same today, at work, in relationships, in every challenge. Do not be the man who leaves the door open for someone who slammed it in his face. That man announces to the world that he values another person's whims more than his own self-worth. Close the door. Bolt it shut. Say with your actions, I was whole before you. I remain whole without you. That is attraction. That is command. That is stoicism in motion. And it is not just about her. It is about life. The man who can let go of her can let go of fear, of failure, of weakness. He becomes untouchable. He becomes unshakable. He becomes unstoppable. Seneca said, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. This is your trial. Don't fail it by running backward. Pass it by moving forward. Don't let loneliness trick you into crawling back. Don't let memory chain you to a ghost. Don't waste your years feeding on scraps when you were built for abundance. Let her stay gone, and let her absence fuel you. Train harder, build stronger, earn more, stand taller. Forge a life so solid that no one's exit can shake it. Modern Stoicism is not about being cold. It is about being controlled. Old Stoicism was not about emotionless living. It was about mastering emotions so they never ruled the man. That is what you must do now. Remember this law. Control yourself, or the world will control you. Master your emotions, or they will master you. Don't confuse obsession with power. Don't confuse pain with proof of love. Love yourself enough to let go. Lead yourself with the authority you crave from others. And when you rise, when you walk forward without looking back, when you hold your head high, you will know what it means to live as a man of power. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Apply that here. If she does not want you, do not chase her. If she has shown her truth, do not deny it. If she left, let her stay gone. That is Stoicism. That is power. That is victory. If this message hit home, like this video, share it with a brother who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more wisdom on becoming stronger every day. Comment to remember, acceptance makes me free. 4. Don't break silence for maybe. That single word has sunk more men than rejection ever could. A maybe isn't a door opening, it's a trick of the light. A late night, hey stranger, a random like on your photo, or a half-hearted, maybe we should talk, is not interest. It's bait. And here's the brutal truth. When you respond to that, you're not showing strength. You're exposing weakness. You're proving that your no contact wasn't rooted in control, but in waiting. You weren't moving forward. You were sitting by the phone, hoping she'd toss you a crumb. And the second she does, you jump. That's not discipline. That's dependency. You must see the psychology behind this. Women, consciously or unconsciously, understand the power of ambiguity. They know that dangling a maybe keeps a man on the line without ever offering real investment. Maybe I'll see you soon. Maybe things will be different. Maybe we should talk. Those aren't promises. They're smoke screens. They're designed to stir just enough hope to keep you orbiting while she risks nothing. And when you bite, you reset the game. You hand her control. That is why responding to maybe never rebuilds attraction. It destroys your value. A man who values himself doesn't chase uncertainty. He doesn't take dating tips that tell him to decode hidden signals or play detective with vague texts. He doesn't treat half-effort as full respect. No, he stands firm. He requires action, not suggestion. Proof, not possibility. Because strength isn't measured by how quickly you reply to a breadcrumb. It's measured by how long you can sit in silence when silence is the right move. That is the essence of true self-control. The psychology tips most men overlook. Don't forget this. When you respond to maybe energy, you become the man who waits around hoping she'll choose him. That is weakness. that is settling. But when you refuse, when you only break silence for real effort, consistency, clarity, respect, you transform. You become the man who chooses himself. And that energy, that discipline, is what rebuilds attraction. It's what communicates value louder than any words ever could. Think of it this way. A stoic man doesn't break silence because someone dangled possibility in front of him. He breaks silence only when reality, not hope, shows him something solid. He doesn't crack when teased. He doesn't flinch when tempted. He doesn't stumble at the hint of attention. That's the difference between a man who drifts through relationships and a man who commands them. So here's your love advice. Sharp and simple. Don't break no contact for a maybe. Don't let vague gestures convince you there's progress when there isn't. Don't confuse attention with intention. Be the man who isn't swayed by illusions. Be the man who requires more than crumbs. Be the man who waits for substance, not smoke. Because every time you ignore a maybe, you're declaring, I'm not here to beg for your choice. I am the choice. And that's where true attraction lives. That's where respect grows. That's where your power shines. So the next time you see a vague text, a midnight like, or a half-hearted suggestion, don't take the bait. Don't chase. Don't bend. Stay silent. Because silence in the face of weakness is strength. And silence in the face of manipulation is freedom. That's not just dating tips. It's a code for living as a man who refuses to be played. Psychology tips, love advice, dating tips, all rolled into one simple command. Don't answer to maybe. Answer only to reality. Answer only to respect. Answer only to what you truly deserve. 5. Only principles, never emotions. Let's cut straight to it, gentlemen. Too many men blow up their chances after a breakup because they confuse drama with dignity. They think sending long emotional texts, begging for attention, or chasing a woman down the street is somehow authentic. It's not. It's weak. It's desperate. It's exactly what kills attraction. Because here's the cold truth. When you let emotions steer the wheel, you look unstable. And no woman wants to build her life with a man who can't even control himself. Why men fail at no contact? Don't fool yourself. Most men don't fail at no contact because they don't know the rule. They fail because they can't hold the line. They don't lack knowledge. They lack discipline. Loneliness sneaks in, and suddenly they send that pitiful "I miss you" text. Jealousy bites, and they're scrolling her Instagram like a teenager at midnight. Fear of losing her forever? That's when they cave, begging for another shot. And every time they cave, something inside them breaks. Her respect for him drops. His self-worth sinks. The cycle repeats. Stop it. Be better. Emotions make you a puppet. Here's the brutal reality check. A man who lives by his emotions is a man who is easily controlled. Women can smell it from a mile away. The moment she knows she can press your buttons, you're done. You're no longer the strong, steady man she once admired. You're just another puppet dancing on her emotional strings. And listen, don't think this is only about getting her back. This is about life, manhood, and your relationship goals beyond this one woman. If you want to attract women in general, you must show you're unshakable. That is love psychology at its core. Principles build unshakable men. Principles are what separate boys from men, weaklings from leaders, fools from legends. A principle is a sword you never put down. It says, I don't chase people who walk away. My dignity is worth more than a text back. If it doesn't line up with my self-respect, I don't do it, no matter how I feel. That's not stubbornness. That's strength. That's self-command. That's how you attract women who actually respect you, not just tolerate you. Call it stoicism. Call it discipline. Call it maturity. Whatever you call it, it's the difference between a man who breaks and a man who bends steel. The hard truth you need to swallow. If you can't live by principles, you will stay trapped in a never-ending loop of heartbreak and desperation. That is a fact. But if you build your life on principles, no woman, no rejection, no silence can knock you down. You'll stop living like a beggar waiting for scraps and start walking like a man who knows his worth. Don't be the guy who sends 20 texts at midnight. Don't be the guy who stalks her online, looking for hidden signs. Don't be the guy who trades his dignity for a 5-second reply. Be the guy who says, I know who I am. I know what I stand for. And nothing, no heartbreak, no silence, no rejection changes that. That's real strength. That's how men win in love psychology, in attraction, and in life. And gentlemen, that is exactly what women, real women, are drawn to. Because while emotions fade, principles endure. No contact isn't a gimmick. It isn't a trick to win her back. It's a test of who you are. It's a line in the sand that says, I refuse to let feelings make me weak. Remember this. Principles keep you solid. Emotions make you crumble. Choose wisely. Because the man who builds his life on principles doesn't just survive heartbreak. He owns it. He turns it into fuel. And he becomes the kind of man who not only attracts women, but also commands respect wherever he goes. If this hit home, drop a like, share it with a brother who needs it, and subscribe for more hard truths. Comment to remember. My dignity is worth more than a reply. 6. Her words mean nothing. Watch her actions. Gentlemen, let me give you the truth straight, without sugarcoating. Her words mean nothing if her actions don't match. Stop letting yourself get hypnotized by empty sentences that cost her nothing. Words require no effort, no sacrifice, no loyalty. They are cheap. They are air. But actions? Actions tell the truth every single time. If she says she cares yet spends her nights with another man, her actions have already revealed the truth. If she says she misses you but never makes time for you, her absence is the answer. If she promises change but continues the same behavior, then the promise was poison, and you drank it because you wanted hope more than clarity. Don't do that again. Hope without evidence is self-deception, and self-deception is weakness. This is where the modern Stoic must rise. The old Stoic philosophers like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus taught that a man's power lies not in what others do to him, but in how he responds. A modern Stoic, living in today's world of social media lies, text message games, and fake affection, must be sharper, harder, and more disciplined than ever. Because today's battlefield isn't only the streets, it's in your mind, your phone, your emotions. When she sends you those soft words, I still love you, I think about you, maybe someday, she isn't proving love, she's testing your weakness. And if you break no contact because of a few letters on a screen, then you've already surrendered your dignity. Listen carefully. No contact is not for the weak. It's for men who control themselves. It's for men who understand that silence is strength, that discipline is freedom, that restraint is power. Seneca, another old Stoic, said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And he was right. Too many men create fantasies around a woman's words and then live in chains, waiting for something that will never come. That suffering is self-inflicted. That suffering is unnecessary, and you must not allow it. In modern life, men are bombarded with temptation, confusion, and manipulation. That is why Stoicism, old Stoic wisdom adapted to modern Stoic living, is not just philosophy, it's survival. If you measure her by her words, you lose. If you measure her by her consistent actions, you win. Because reality cannot lie. If she values you, you'll see it clearly, through her time, her effort, her loyalty, her consistency. If she doesn't, you'll see excuses, distance, flakiness, and half-hearted effort. Don't explain it away. Don't rationalize it. Don't pretend. See it for what it is. Let me be clear. If you ignore her actions and chase her words, you are not just being lied to. You are lying to yourself. And self-deception is the greatest betrayal a man can commit. A stoic man must never betray himself. You must build a standard, and you must enforce it. That standard is simple. Do not break no contact because of what she said. Break it only if her actions prove it. Until then, silence is your strongest weapon. Silence is your armor. Silence is your victory. Understand this. Women test men constantly, sometimes consciously, sometimes subconsciously. They want to see if you will collapse, if you will fold, if you will betray yourself just to get crumbs of attention. Weak men fold. Strong men don't. Weak men wait around for maybe. Strong men demand reality. Weak men destroy their self-respect by chasing. Strong men preserve their dignity by standing firm. Which one are you going to be? This is the psychology of power. People respect what they cannot control. If she cannot bend you with words, she will either step up with real actions or fade away. Either way, you win. Because your mission is not her, it is you. Your mission is self-mastery, discipline, clarity. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That is your mantra. That is Stoicism, both old and modern. That is your path. So I command you, don't be fooled by illusions. Don't sell your dignity for cheap words. Don't wait for someday. Be decisive. Be disciplined. Be a modern Stoic. Live in reality, not in fantasy. Demand proof, not promises. Demand action, not air. Demand consistency, not excuses. And above all, guard your self-respect like your life depends on it, because it does. Remember, words are air. Actions are reality. And reality is where the strong live. You must be strong. You must be stoic. You must master yourself, because victory belongs to the man who never breaks under pressure, never chases weakness, and never betrays his own standard. That is how you win. That is how you rise. That is how you become untouchable. 7. Break no contact only when you don't care anymore. Let's get this straight. No contact isn't for the weak. It's for men who control themselves. Most guys misunderstand the paradox. The only time it's truly safe to break no contact is when you genuinely, honestly, unapologetically don't care about the outcome anymore. Not when you're secretly plotting in the shadows, hoping she'll come running back. Not when you're replaying old memories like a broken jukebox at midnight. And definitely not when her attention still feels like oxygen to your lungs. Because as long as you care too much, you're operating from need, and neediness is poison. You'll text her with expectation. You'll wait for her reply like it's a lottery ticket to happiness. And if she ignores you or tosses you crumbs, you'll spiral into the same pain you swore you'd already survived. That's not strength. That's dependency disguised as effort. Don't do it. Be smarter. The truth is, when you've rebuilt yourself, when your life feels whole without her name on the caller ID, everything shifts. Your happiness no longer lives in her hands. Your self-worth isn't tied to her validation. That's when you can send a message without flinching, without bargaining, without trembling at the thought of silence. Because silence doesn't scare you anymore. Whether she responds or ghosts, your world doesn't collapse. It keeps spinning, because you've already filled it with purpose, growth, and peace. That's not coldness. That's power. That's what self-control looks like in real time. These are the psychology tips that separate the weak from the wise, the ones who collapse from the ones who rise. And here's the kicker. Stoicism teaches that the wise man is not ruled by hope or fear. He is ruled by principle. You must remember this if you ever consider breaking silence. It's not about hunger for her attention. It's about clarity within yourself. Don't reach out when your emotions are in the driver's seat. Don't let hope, fear, or loneliness trick you into thinking you're stronger than you really are. Be ruthless with yourself. Ask, do I honestly not care what happens next? If the answer is no, then stop. Because breaking no contact while still caring too much is like playing poker with your emotions on the table. She'll see the cards, and you'll lose again. But when you don't care anymore, that's when you've already won. That's when your silence wasn't just a tactic, it was a transformation. You're no longer the man who needs her to feel whole. You're the man who chooses, not the man who begs. And that choice is where freedom lives. So yes, break no contact only when her reply or her silence means nothing. Because that's the moment you finally prove to yourself, not to her, that you've already conquered the battlefield. That's the moment you stop needing closure and start embodying it. So take this as both love advice and dating tips you won't hear from the average guru. No contact isn't about winning her back, it's about winning yourself back. Don't sabotage it by moving too soon. Be disciplined, be untouchable. Because the moment you don't need her response is the moment you've already proved to yourself that you've grown beyond her. And if you ever decide to break silence, do it with calm detachment, not emotional hunger. That is the final test. That is the line between a man who controls himself and a man controlled by his feelings. And make no mistake, only the first one walks away victorious. At the end of the day, here's the truth most men don't want to hear. If she left you once, she can leave you again. And if you take her back without standards, you're not a man, you're a doormat. That's controversial, but it's the raw reality. A woman should never respect a man more for breaking his own discipline. She respects the man who stands firm, even when it hurts. Gentlemen, I want to hear from you. What has your experience with no contact been like? Have you broken it before and regretted it? Or have you stayed silent and seen the results? Drop your story in the comments. I'll respond to as many as I can. Let's build this conversation together. You're not alone in this, and your voice matters here. Remember, everything we've talked about today isn't just about women. It's about mastering yourself. If you lose a relationship but gain self-respect, you didn't lose at all, you won. Stay tuned, hit subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss it. Take this with you today. Discipline beats desperation. No contact isn't about punishment. It's about proving to yourself that you can control your emotions. That's the kind of strength every man needs. All right, my friends, thanks for hanging out with me today. Stay sharp, stay disciplined, and I'll see you in the next one.